Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but not good night. The intention of this video is to introduce you to the first certificate listening exam, part 2 gap text, including advices, tricks, and examples. As I always do, the best way to deal with it is by a real exam provided in Cambridge's official website. Steps to follow. Read the instructions carefully. This is making reference to know what the text is about, which is expressed in the title and introduction. And second, underline or highlight keywords, as you will have 45 seconds before the audio starts to read through the sentences. It helps us concentrate on that specific information they are asking us to write down, as this exercise focuses on your ability to do so. For example, in number 9, we would underline what first interested her about the spectacled bear, and in number 10, you have the bear markings that can be found in eyes and cheeks, so we suppose that the fill in the gap is another part of the body. As you see, we predict the type of information needed while we underline it. Focusing on the first reading, fill in the gaps. If you are a beginner, write down any answer you hear clearly connected to the gap, as there are almost always several answers, but only one of them is really connected to the text. But if you are an advanced, there is no need to use this adapting technique. Focus always on synonyms and paraphrased ideas. Do not panic if you miss some gaps, as some questions are made to be only answered in the second listening, so we just focus on the next exercise. First of all, they will introduce the exercise.
You will hear a woman called Angela Thomas, who works for a wildlife organisation, talking about the spectacled bear. For questions 9 to 18, complete the sentences with a word or short phrase. You now have 45 seconds to look at part 2.
This is the moment when you would underline. Even though there are more, we will just make reference in the introduction to the first two. Let's listen to the recording.
Thanks for inviting me tonight. As you know, my main interest is in conservation, and I'm lucky enough to work with lots of different organisations looking after animals both in captivity and in the wild. I'd been fascinated by all kinds of bears for a long time before I started working in this field, but it was the spectacled bear that really attracted me. Some people find it appealing because of its size and shape, and it's less well known than other types of bear. But for me, I thought it was such a great name. It comes from the patches of yellowish fur around the bear's eyes, which grow in a sort of circle shape like glasses, although these golden markings vary greatly from one bear to another and may not be limited to the eyes. They can extend as far as the bear's cheeks or even chest.
Step 3. Focusing on the second listening, confirm step 1. Or, in other words, focus on filling any gaps you missed the first time, or double-check your answers to ensure they fit grammatically and semantically, and because they must make sense in the context of the exercise. So, let's listen to it again.
Thanks for inviting me tonight. As you know, my main interest is in conservation, and I'm lucky enough to work with lots of different organisations looking after animals both in captivity and in the wild. I'd been fascinated by all kinds of bears for a long time before I started working in this field, but it was the spectacled bear that really attracted me. Some people find it appealing because of its size and shape, and it's less well known than other types of bear. But for me, I thought it was such a great name. It comes from the patches of yellowish fur around the bear's eyes, which grow in a sort of circle shape like glasses, although these golden markings vary greatly from one bear to another and may not be limited to the eyes. They can extend as far as the bear's cheeks or even chest.
You have it, you don't have it. Let's compare what you listened to what was actually said. There are three things I would like to mention in exercise 9 that appear continuously. The first one is some people find it appealing, and then they tell you what they find appealing, the size and shape. However, in the question, it is said what she finds appealing. Therefore, is going to be incorrect, that information. In the second place, I want you to pay attention to size and shape, because there are two answers that are united by an and. When this happens, there's a great possibility that's incorrect. When in the exercise they make reference to being able to write from 1 to 3 words, what they're making reference is to an article, an adjective that can be placed before the answer. For example, in exercise 9, it would be the great name. Also, just name would have been correct. The third one is, do you remember I told you to listen for synonyms or paraphrased ideas? In the exercise, it is used interested and in the recording appealing. Both mean the same thing. So bear in mind these three advices because they appear continuously in this exercise. In addition, making reference to the first one, when it says some people find it appealing and in the question is making reference to the opinion of the speaker, her answer is going to be emphasized, and here it is emphasized, but for me, I thought it was. And we know that after that emphasis is the correct answer. Exercise 10. The correct answer is chest. Do you remember I told you not to panic if you miss some gaps in the first listening, as some questions are made to be only answered in the second? Well, I'm going to use this exercise as an example. This exercise, they follow the order eyes, eyes, after cheeks, cheeks, and after the correct answer. But if it doesn't follow the same order, it can be missed. But don't worry because you know where the information is. So in the second recording, you just pay special attention. As you see, this exercise is all about techniques, looking for clues in the recording that are going to take us to the correct answer. And we do so underlining the small details in the exercise, which are the keywords. The aim of this video has been for you to understand the steps to follow in this exercise, so let's practice a bit more in another one.